Small Biz Guys. I'm Zen Benefiel and
Ray Silverstein.
And together we're your advisorologists.
That's a dual advisorologist.
There's two Small Biz Guys.
No, that's right. That's advisor. I'm still trying to figure out what advisorologist means.
We're trying to act smart, but sometimes we are.
But tonight we have a special person to really advise everyone.
Yes, we do. It's Ron Parker, Senior VP with BBVA-Compass Bank here in Phoenix. And Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Hey, I noticed that just right off the bat that you've got notes on us. You've been studying.
Always do the homework. It's important.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, speaking of homework, you started really early in the industry. You started out in California, and then your family basically packed up and moved to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So, mahalo.
Thank you.
Howley.
I thought you speak more than one language. I'm amazed.
Only a few words.
Only a few words.
Yeah,
okay.
those words that
are most
important and create the rapport.
So, do you know Merry Christmas?
I don't know her at all. Do you know her?
Me neither.
Mele Kalikimaka.
Mele Kalikimaka.
Learn something new.
Yeah. Okay. Well, mahalo. So, what got you involved in the industry initially? You were saying earlier that before the show that your father actually kind of pulled you in because of his involvement.
He actually did. I grew up in a household of finance individuals. My father was a bank president in Central California. As I mentioned, it focused in agricultural, adventures, and it was, small banking community, kind of the old school banking that people miss. My father was involved in that. So as I grew up,
being able to go in and talk to somebody.
Exactly. Meet a real person, shake a hand.
Right.
Tell you a funny story also on that one. My father used to send out loan documents with the check attached to the loan documents unsigned. You sign the loan documents, send them back, and you already banked the check. That's how it used to be.
What a deal.
If anybody in Phoenix Metro can find that, let me know.
Yeah.
So as far as raising up in that family or growing up in that family, it had a lot of interesting times. In banking, you saw it grow. You saw it go through ups and downs, but I learned a lot at a very young age.
So you really had when they talk about having bootstraps into the business,
mm-hmm.
You really learned it from different angles as being both in a family type of banking situation, dealing with a very high relationship situation.
Mm-hmm.
And do you find that banking is somewhat the same?
No, I think banking, and like any industry, it's going to transition, right? And banking overall today, with the growth that you've seen in certain banks, and then the community sector that goes through ebbs and flows, banking is a little less personal today, but a lot of that has to do with the digital transformation. If you look at the millennials,
and the ease of transactions,
the millennials pretty much demand digital banking. They do everything on their phones. They do everything remote. My wife and I enjoy.
And they'll sit at a table together and not talk to each other,
or sit in a car and text each other, sitting right next to each other. Yeah. And my wife and I have 2 young kids. They've never stepped foot in a bank branch, and we're both bankers.
Oh, now
go figure.
Now, do you find that just as from a personal point of view, do you find that difficult since you grow up in a very relationship or personal relationship type banking to now have this digital type world?
It depends on how you deliver it. If you deliver, the digital banking platform in multiple avenues in a way that relates to the public, there isn't the disconnect that you may think. There's still a personal touch to all delivery channels.
And you can always call up somebody.
That's correct. You can always call me if you have a problem.
Right. Now, one of the things that with BBVA, as the merger took place, it's the largest bank in Spain.
It is. We've enjoyed that luxury for a while.
Okay. So we were talking earlier about the difference between the, let's say the Latin South America, Spain, the culture
mm-hmm.
is much different than the Western culture or the North American culture.
Yep.
It's a lot more family oriented, mm-hmm. and does the bank carry that through?
They do.
We're kind of jumping ahead from
your
background.
Right. Well, that's my fault because I took you ahead. But Why don't you take us back to Hawaii? Because so we want to say
Hawaii.
Then we can say aloha to that. And
All right, so we'll get back to that. Back in Hawaii, you got started there.
that's the lay of the land.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. So in Hawaii, I'll just jump back into that one real quick.
Okay.
Growing up, I cut my teeth, in Hawaii for my financial career. Started in the small business community working for my father. What's important for us today is, we're talking about, the small business. Our average size transaction in the family business was $40,000. So when you look at today's model, right, people think big dollars, banks, these, luxury items, big ticket that got us in trouble, perhaps in Wall Street. But my background is centered on that small business owner, which if you look at Phoenix Metro, that's the majority of the business community.
It really is.
Yeah.
I spent a number of years with a micro-lending organization, which is even a little smaller scale yet, but the requirements of small business aren't that great. I mean, they're usually under 100,000, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and most of it today you're going to find, you mentioned ease of doing business before, the digital channels. You're going to find most banks delivering that product to the small business either through a digital channel, through an application-only process, no financials. It's kind of more of a scoring environment, which allows the financial community to deliver products in a nice bundled way at an economic price with speed to market.
Well, I'm assuming it reduces the overhead and the cost to make the loan, assuming that the loan is going to be a good loan.
It is. Part of the digital channel, there's different aspects to it, but there's an efficiency ratio. The United States banking community is not as efficient as other banking communities around the world. And most of, the banking communities.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
So the banking industry, you're going to see it change a little bit over the next, couple of decades, where there is going to be a transformation of that retail delivery platform. It's not a bad thing. It's not a scary thing. It actually is a smoother delivery.
Well, you mentioned the one difference, huge difference with BBVA-Compass is that in the aspects of having silos within the industry, so to speak, or within the organization, there is none. You've got a single point of contact for anything that you need.
That's correct. We went through a transformation about a year ago, which I've never seen in banking. And as you mentioned, growing up in banking, I've seen a lot of things come and go. And the biggest challenge, and I've worked for 2 large banks now, and the biggest challenge I ever saw was dealing with your internal competitors more than your external competitors, which hindered your delivery of product and your timing of service and overall customer satisfaction. Well, the bank about a year ago combined all 3 lines of business, commercial, wealth, and retail. While we preserve the integrity of those lines, they now have one reporting channel. What does that mean? Better service to the customer.
That sounds very similar to the old Continental Bank out of Chicago, which used to be a big bank with a small bank inside.
That's exactly
That was
right.
before they went down. But the premise is that it's very easy on the customer, or very easy for the customer, because you only have to talk to 1 or 2 people.
That's correct. And that's our model. That's what we're trying to bring, to the community, which is that small bank feel. And we all talk about it in the community. It's kind of interesting that we're a large bank, but we deliver like a small community bank. Well, the question is, how do you prove that? And that's why we reorganize the bank, so we can show the marketplace that we do deliver that model.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody comes into the bank and talks to you about, say, I want to use wealth management, or I'm interested in trust, or whatever it might be, do you hand them off, or how do you escort them over to the right party, or how does it work?
We actually have a team environment. So to give you an example, I'm going to mention a good comrade of mine, Dave Lundgren, in the wealth management group, has been with the bank for many years, and he handles the commercial side of the bank. So no, we don't hand them off. We work in a team environment.
Oh, okay. That's really a big benefit and bonus to your customer, to have that ease of handling.
Are we trying the alliteration on purpose?
No, if I did, it was by accident. Sometimes I do it on purpose, but not that time.
Oh, darn. I thought it was a good one, though. Okay, speaking of a good one, we're going to take a short break here for a good one, or a good few, and we'll be right back with you with 2 Small Biz Guys. Thanks for listening. your dream? Do you want to achieve it? Do you know how? What if you did? Zen Benefiel is the Chief Possibilities Coagulator with Be the Dream, Transformational Life Coaching and Professional Services. He'll help you put your dream to paper and process, removing liabilities, limitations, and excuses in your challenge to change. Changing your outlook and perspectives opens your experience to opportunity and success. Visit BeTheDream.com and make an appointment with Zen. You'll be amazed with the results.
As a business owner, do you ever feel alone? Hi, I'm Ray Silverstein, founder of Pro Presidents Organization. I know business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. At Pro, our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro peer advisory board meeting is just the thing. It takes away that feeling of being alone by giving you support, insight, and experience. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive business owners facilitated by me. I walk in your shoes. I've owned and sold several businesses. I will be your mentor and tormentor to move you forward. When you have issues or opportunities that keep you awake at night, where do you get your help? Pro boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting, email ray@propres.com. That's ray@propres.com. ray@propres.com. There's no charge and no commitment to attend.
Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today. The digital world is vast. Is it working for you? Would you like some qualified help? Zen Benefiel is a wonder with social media who leads focused and organized workshops on multiple platforms like Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. He leads by example, not theory, and teaches you how to live large and lively on the web. From blogs to SEO, his web presence speaks for itself. Take advantage of his expertise. Visit BeTheDream.com and click on Web Wizardry. Hire him while you can.
And welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys with Zen, Ray, and Ron. So, Ron, the banks had had some transformation here recently. Would you kind of explain what that is and what the ultimate goal is as far as serving the local communities?
You bet. So the transformation we went through about a year ago was to realign the bank and have all three lines of business, work and function together, in a seamless manner. And what that does to the business community is not only realign, commercial banking, wealth, and retail to the same platforms for the large part, but it's delivery of products, services, and more synergies within the bank, which relates out to the customers on a small bank basis.
And that even kind of flows through to the point of contact, being able to deal with the customer and satisfy their needs with a single or a team approach.
You bet. The interesting thing about a customer, I work for a bank, but I'm also a customer of a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a customer of anything, you really are not so concerned about their internal challenges or processes or what they need to do. All the customer really wants to hear is how it's being taken care of, that it's being taken care of.
When you're using the product, you want to just make sure that the product's good.
That's exactly.
And it meets your needs.
So that realignment helps that.
Okay, so speaking of meeting your needs, you've got there's changes that have gone on in the not just regulatory perspectives, but also in the ascertaining the needs of your borrowers and
information,
mm-hmm. All the things that are necessary in order to provide the loans.
The know your customer syndrome.
That's right.
Right. And in knowing your customer, what's changed over the years that has made the business ultimately better, but caused some difficulties in the transition?
I wouldn't say that the heightened awareness has made it better. It's made it a little more difficult from the banking side. But it's a different world today. We all live in a different world today, right? So banking is playing a big part in trying to keep the community safe, keep a watchful eye on money laundering, terrorist activities, the U.S. Patriot Act. When you look at know your code or know your customer, as you mentioned, we do a lot more due diligence today. That infrastructure is very expensive. Luckily, to date, it has not been passed on to the customer. I don't see it going to be passed on to the customer in the near future, but it is slowing down.
Do you think
the
that's
services.
because of the way the digital domain is growing and the access to information? It doesn't take as many people. You can, push a button and it's in a database somewhere.
That is a fair statement. The ease of access to information makes us more efficient to be able to process faster when we're trying to do, the background information to be able to realize whether we're, adhering to the federal regulations.
Like anything, like with the computers, boost the price up for a little bit, but then as that data flow gets larger and the database is more manageable, then those costs go down.
True, but you're also taking out some of the infrastructure cost in the retail segment, where the retail, when you look at, banking in the retail segment, that's your most expensive segment, just because it has the infrastructure, the bricks and mortar and that type of stuff.
Or click and mortar.
Click and mortar, there you go.
Maybe.
Click and mortar is replacing the brick and mortar. And
Right.
if you look at banking historically, before the downturn, after the downturn, it's all the same. The branch environment has been shrinking over time, decades. Not of late, but decades. And most people don't know that.
But also you have a lot more machines out there, the ATMs. You don't call those branches, but they
Euphemistically called the ugly tellers.
Well, I don't. I think the colors are
I don't know,
pretty
we have
nice.
pretty good looking ATMs. So
And the nice thing is they always take my picture. So I ordered an 8x10,
But they
I
don't
didn't
talk
get
to
it.
you very often.
yeah.
Well, sometimes they do. They say welcome.
Usually they don't get angry at you though.
No,
Right.
they don't get angry. That's true.
Yeah.
But you only get angry at them. But the aspect is that it's a change of environment. I mentioned before I was on a bank board for years, and when I first went on it, on a Friday afternoon, the lobby of this community bank would have maybe 40 or 50 people in line making deposits. And now you go there on a Friday afternoon, there's maybe 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the click and mortar, and you have this whole change in the environment. So it's the aspect is that how do people, now you grew up in banking, so how do you adjust your mentality to go with this change where the old relationship that you grew up with your father is not really as intimate as it used to be?
It still can be. It depends on, what segment of banking you're in. So I'm part of the commercial bank where, that has less delivery in a digital format. The retail bank is transforming in every institution. So it's a different challenge for most banks, but they're getting comfortable with it. It's really in the channel on how you deliver that in a personal way through digital transformation, and it's tricky too. You're going to find, like most industries, the banks are following the bloggers. They are following what's being said about them online, and they're reacting instantly to those items. And that drives up the satisfaction.
Well, and that's one of the great things that the digital domain now provides is that instant feedback. And you have to monitor that in order to stay ahead of the curve, so to speak. And people talk.
And believe it or not, a quiet customer is not your best customer.
No.
Oh.
A customer that speaks up is giving you that valuable feedback, which allows you to adapt to the environment as the environment changes around you.
That's true in any business. You want customers to complain, otherwise you can't remedy.
Yeah.
But the aspect is now that you have you're in a managerial position in a bank. So is it harder to find key employees that you can really hire? Is the hiring process different for you?
In the commercial bank, where I'm domiciled, there is a plethora of talent in the Phoenix metro area. There really is. Large part because there's a lot of banks here. We have large players, we have mid-sized players, we also have small community players, and then we have people transitioning into the marketplace. So it's not a challenge.
With that aspect, I know that you mentioned about one contact point, but when I run these advisory boards and people are going to a bank, I always recommend to them that they not only know their banker, but also the person who they report to get to know 2 or 3 people, first of all, because of being on the loan committee, but also in case if that person does leave the bank or does get promoted up, is that you have a continuation of contact. Any thoughts on that?
Very astute observation. That plays right into my business model. Every customer that comes in the bank, in the commercial bank, what I let them know is, you have relationships throughout the bank, but the key relationships are at the top of the house, not the bottom of the house. And here's why. The bottom of the house, it goes through ebbs and flows. It evolves, promotions. They move into different divisions. They come and go. And a banker's shelf life is about 3 to 5 years. I mean, it really is. The top of the house moves very rarely. And so you need to know the key players. You need to know the president of the bank. You need to know the chief credit officer. You need to attend the social events. And if you form those relationships, you'll always have a very strong banking relationship.
That's a very good point. Your point is a little bit different in the respect to attend the social events. I haven't heard that before, but so when the
That's
bank
because you
puts
never
on-
attend them.
That's true. I'm not invited, but
You will be.
I will. So when the bank has like a workshop or some type of luncheon that they're hosting, you find it advantageous for you to go for a potential client or client, so they can meet more of the people within the top of the house, as you put it.
That's correct. We use that environment to do introductions and then also add value to the business community. So we'll bring in our chief economist, and he'll come into town a couple times a year and he'll deliver, the State of the Union of what we're seeing, globally, nationally, and locally, which is good. So we did one of late in fourth quarter where he came in and talked about the Phoenix metro area, and that added a lot of value for everybody.
And in Phoenix, do you find that a good deal of the banking activity is driven by real estate, or do you find that other activities are significant?
We're not a manufacturing town, so when you think East Coast, West Coast, you have 30-year manufacturers on the East Coast. And in Phoenix, it's always been driven by real estate. I mean, it's a growth town. So you count rooftops. The service industry is very strong here as well. We're trying to grow the infrastructure around more, traditional models and industries, but it's a challenge.
And the digital industry is growing here too. You've got some major players that have moved into town. You've got eBay and PayPal and Google and Microsoft and all these guys that are creating even more of the shift towards that.
That's correct. And a lot of that
it's like the new Silicon Valley.
Well, correct. But a lot of that also has to do with the cost of living in Arizona. And you find, USAA with their call center and that type of stuff.
Now, we talk about that. That's not necessarily affecting, that's not a direct relationship with small business. However, it really is, because each one of those entities deals with vendors and suppliers and
jobs.
Okay,
right.
But I have a question with respect to the real estate aspect. Not the finished product, but we're going to be cut off in a moment. But a lot of businesses are subcontractors.
Just delayed.
Right, that's true. A lot of businesses are contractors. And contractors really don't have a lot of assets to support loans. So how does the bank view lending to contractors, and how do they make a credit decision on that? And you can think about that, because we're going to get cut off. But
do I have time to answer?
We're going to play rock, paper, scissors?
I don't know. I guess.
We're going to get cut off. So we'll just cut off. All right. So thanks for listening in with Ron, Ray, and Zen here, and we'll be right back with you with Two Small Biz Guys. I'm Zen Benefiel with Be the Dream Transformational Life Coaching and Professional Services at BeTheDream.com. Our mission? To provide leading-edge transformational personal and business development services. Our services include life coaching, enterprise coaching, partnering facilitations, and possibilities coagulating. We've been in business since 1988. In times of massive change, you need someone who can help you adjust and transform. I can meet that challenge with you, offering a stellar skill set from serving individuals and companies for over 20 years. I invite you to peruse BeTheDream.com and put me to the test. Fill out the coaching assessment survey and give me a call. The first call is free, and you can find out if I'm what you are looking for in a coach, consultant, or service provider. Call 480-633-7179. Let your dreams mold future realities. BeTheDream.com.
As a business owner, do you ever feel alone? I'm Ray Silverstein, founder of Pro Presidents Organization. A Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting takes away that feeling of being alone by giving you support, insight, and experience. You get this from your peers, other business owners who have resolved the issues that keep you awake at night. A Pro Peer Advisory Board is a confidential meeting of non-competitive business owners facilitated by me. I have owned and sold several businesses. I have walked in your shoes. I will be your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead to achieve your goals. To a sample of free Pro President's meeting, email Ray at ProPres, that's R-A-Y at PROPRES.com. A Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting takes away that feeling of being alone by giving you support, insight, and experience. Email Ray at ProPres, that's R-A-Y at PROPRES.com. There is no charge or no commitment to attend.
Welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys with Ray at ProPres.
Gee, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm Zen, and Ron Parker's with us this evening from BBVA-Compass Bank, and we're talking, right before the break, we were talking about lending to contractors and the situations that come up with that, the challenges, and kind of what that's like today.
Mm-hmm. It's been an overall experience, in the construction industry. It doesn't matter whether you're a developer, you're a contractor, you're an investor. When you have a big boom, you have a big bust. And
right.
So that industry, has had some challenges. How do you lend into it? Understand the industry, understand what the requirements are, and understand what their lifelines are. As I mentioned, offline here, while we're taking a break, liquidity's king. But the smaller contractors, they don't have that ability to set aside that capital. So how do you lend into it?
Right, it's job to job, and hopefully they can carry something through from one to the next.
You're hopeful that they do, but again, life takes over. And so when you're in the smaller, financial products, they work very well for the contractors because it's more of an application only scoring, not as much financial review. So you're not so worried about the ups and downs on an individual borrower basis. You look more at industry and then quality of the scoring items on a consumer basis. And you can do
most of this is the construction industry that we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can do 150,000 on an application only basis with no financial review. Ease of delivery of the product. It gives them access to capital. When you get to the larger side, it becomes a little bit, more analytical, and you have to understand the industries, as a lender.
Now, does the bank have a particular industry that they favor, that they like to work with, or are you all things to all people?
I don't think that we favor any industry. So let's talk about oil and gas right now real quick, right? So oil and gas is in trouble. And we have a big presence in Texas, right? It's the largest presence in the United States.
And gas is $1.30.
Yeah. For the consumer, the gas is great. For a bank that may be heavy in it, you kind of go, uh-oh.
Oh, it gives the bank gas is what it does.
Yes, it does. And in our presence in that community, even though we understand it well, we have a very small presence in it, right? So that's the good thing. But understand your industries.
So industries, let's break it down to the smaller business, the ones that that really only need even 50,000 or less.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of factors do you look at in order to get them funding?
The funding for the small business, as I was mentioning, is a simplistic platform. It is in many financial institutions. You don't need the relationships. It's more based on consumer scoring than overall financial
credit rating,
financials, time in business, DMB report, Dun & Bradstreet, your Dun & Bradstreet score. You're looking for indicators that don't pop up as negative, but there is not a lot of financial review.
And when you talk about scoring, what is generally the threshold to scoring that people look at or the banks look at as being, say, the approvable rate?
There's really no floor, and I say that openly. And I know people will say, well, wait a minute, there's going to be a fair Isaac that you won't do. And that's true. I mean,
we wouldn't go under 530.
Yeah. Well, if you come in the door with, a 530, we're going to ask, how did we get to a 530?
Right.
I mean, that's the question, right? So it causes questions. Doesn't mean we won't lend into it. We've got to understand it. I can tell you, I have approved personally transactions that most people go, why did you do that? You apply common business sense. That's what it's all about. And if you have the right industry or an industry that you understand, you'll take some risks.
Well, and with the microlending, with the 530, we had the program in place where over a 3-year period, with the paybacks, their financials would develop and the credit scores would go up, and then they'd be ready to go to the SBA.
That's correct. I'll give you a great example. We have a firm that's in the legal industry. that went through, a challenge. It was on the consumer side, had a home mortgage, and had a balloon coming due with the home mortgage. We had only a portion of the relationship. Walked into the bank one day fully embarrassed, and a well-known attorney here in town, and said, "What do I do?" And I said, "You sit in a chair and we're going to rewrite your mortgage for you."
I thought you could tell him to hire a lawyer.
Yeah, hire a lawyer. Yeah.
A good attorney.
We redid the mortgage for him. In the interim, while, as fair as it takes time to fix itself, but we understood what the problem was, addressed it, and understood the risks involved.
Well, and this is where, a lot of folks, they're reticent to ask questions for fearing appearing a fool.
I'll ask you this. I walked in tonight, and I was sitting on your couch out front, and you guys walked in and graciously greeted me. I have not been on the radio, a lot of experience, but you made me feel at home. I walked in not knowing anything about radio, nor did you expect me to understand radio.
But you did your homework.
I did my homework. But you didn't expect me to understand radio, nor do we expect our customers to understand banking.
I don't know that we
don't understand radio either.
Yeah, okay. But, it's setting the right table that makes people comfortable that those expectations are not there. The same as if a contractor comes in, he can swing a hammer and build a house way faster than I can.
So the question comes up, since you're using more of this, say, digital information, and there's less. So if a person walks into a bank who really doesn't know what's going on, are there people that
two guys walk into a bar?
Is there, right? Well, after they get done, they want to drink, but. Is there somebody that they can really talk to who's going to help them even on the smaller loans?
Most definitely. We have business bankers within the branch segment. You also have financial advisors within the branch segment. So we have roughly 50 branches within the Phoenix metro area and 70, north of 70 in the overall Arizona market. They can walk into any branch location and get the guidance they're looking for.
Okay, so now in your segment where you're lending, I think your line is $1 million or more. So do the people have the same type of capability of sitting down with your bankers, and I know that you have a one-stop shop, to kind of take them through this whole scenario?
That's correct. The reason I manage both groups is one group is in the retail segment, one is in the commercial segment. So again, it bleeds into one team, and no silos. So the business bankers that handle, customers up to $5 million in annual revenues are domiciled out of the branch segment as well. So you can walk into our branch location, sit down with those business bankers that are educated, their skills are honed, and give you the proper guidance.
Okay, that's
all important.
Now, do other banks do this type of activity, or is BBVA unique?
It depends on bank to bank. Every bank has a different business model. I have seen, quite a few that have their business banking officers in units outside of the branch segment. We also have some competitors in the local marketplace that are more of a retail bank, and they follow our model as well.
It sounds like years ago, when I used to be in the manufacturing business, if you want to call up U.S. Steel and find out what the price was, they had to call up Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
so nobody has to call up Texas to find out what's going on.
No, and actually our business model is based around consulting, and that's what's important to your small business folks. As the leader, with two groups, my business model I entrust with them, and that is in this community for small business, they don't have the bench strength. They don't have the high-powered CFO.
And as far as consumers are concerned, they don't always know the right questions to ask, and so you can assist them, the consultative sales that you're talking about.
And there is no wrong question.
Absolutely. Yep. There are no silly ones or stupid ones. The only ones that are
what aerospace such
are the ones you don't ask.
Huh? How is the question if I borrow the money I can't pay it back? Is that the wrong question?
That's a tricky question. Not the wrong question, just a tricky one.
So there's no wrong question, only tricky ones.
Just tricky ones. Yeah.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
So what happens?
So the aspect is when you're looking for the bigger loans, is there a certain amount of coverage of debt service that you look for?
Ron had that deer in the headlights look when I. So what happens?
I'm like, where's he going with that one? When you look at financial underwriting, most banks follow the traditional format, a cash flow coverage of a 1.25, which means that if you're borrowing $100,000 and you have annual debt service of $10,000. You need to have 1.25 coverage on that 10,000 in payments. So it's a simple model. But when you, again, lend in the, small business community, you're going to find BBVA without a lot of covenants or cash flow requirements once the loan is booked. So for underwriting up front, yeah, we'd look for 125. And that's the repayment source. So you want to make sure it's secure. The other side of it is leverage. You typically want leverage below a 4-to-1. What does that mean? That's how much debt do you have against, your net worth. And that's when you're looking at the business financials. But once you get into the products, for the large part, we don't do a lot of financial monitoring under $1 million in loans. So you don't have a lot of headaches on an ongoing basis.
So that's one of the benefits of the digitalization that Zen likes.
I just because I like playing with computers.
Oh, now we know. Okay. Let your fingers do the walking.
They do. Oftentimes, and I walk all over the world that way.
So now you mentioned wealth management before and the coordination. How does a bank coordinate? How do you coordinate that within your department?
Well, we look at every customer as not a customer of the banker. It's a customer of the bank. And so we introduce our partners within the bank on an annual basis. We do relationship development plans to introduce the customers to the different partners within the bank, so we have a united front.
What is a relationship development plan?
Relationship development plan looks at...
That sounds like a marriage with kids.
Yeah, but there's no divorce.
Right.
There's no divorce. Hopefully. What a development plan does is really have the banker focus on what's important to the customer, what their needs are, understand their industry, so we're not tripping over each other, and we're actually delivering a seamless product to them.
So how does a bank coordinate with that internally? Since a wealth manager is going to be talking about one area and you're talking about another area, is there how do you
co-manage the relationship?
How do you co-manage this and communicate?
It's open dialogue, and it's close proximity.
So you have a lot of water coolers, I take it.
There you go. Actually, we try to have a partner from each one of the segments located within the commercial bank. So wealth management, as you mentioned, we have an individual that's actually domiciled within the commercial bank, and he handles the relationships within the commercial bank, which offers those synergies and that communication.
You're looking at me for a question.
I thought you were just looking at me.
No.
Because
Well,
I held my finger up.
but I haven't heard of the term of this relationship management plan. Is that a formal structure that you put together on a client as to how to best service their needs?
We do. It's a really great question.
That's the trend going into, I think, that's come about in the new millennium is true relationship management.
That's right.
And dealing with that. And we'll talk more about that when we get back from the break. Thanks for listening to Two Small Biz Guys. We'll be back with you in just a few.
What is your dream? Do you want to achieve it? Do you know how? What if you did? Zen Benefiel is the Chief Possibilities Coagulator with Be the Dream, Transformational Life Coaching and Professional Services. He'll help you put your dream to paper and process, removing liabilities, limitations, and excuses in your challenge to change. Changing your outlook and perspectives opens your experience to opportunity and success. Visit BeTheDream.com and make an appointment with Zen. You'll be amazed with the results.
As a business owner, do you ever feel alone? Hi, I'm Ray Silverstein, founder of Pro Presidents Organization. I know business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. At Pro, our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting is just the thing. It takes away that feeling of being alone by giving you support, insight, and experience. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive business owners facilitated by me. I have walked in your shoes. I have owned and sold several businesses. I will be your mentor and tormentor to move you forward. When you have issues or opportunities that keep you awake at night, where do you get your help? Pro boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting, email ray@propres.com. That's ray@propres.com. ray@propres.com. There's no charge and no commitment to attend.
offering insight, practical advice, and the opportunity for coaching and consulting from their years of real-world experience and understanding. Two small biz guys hit the airwaves with wit and wisdom, exploring small business with a couple of characters in the community, or caricatures as the case may be. Ray and Zen, that is, Mondays at 8 p.m. These guys are passionate about helping entrepreneurs and small business owners explore opportunities, meet challenges, and transform concepts to reality. Two small biz guys, Mondays at 8 p.m. Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today. The digital world is vast. Is it working for you? Would you like some qualified help? Zen Benefiel is a wonder with social media who leads focused and organized workshops on multiple platforms like Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. He leads by example, not theory, and teaches you how to live large and lively on the web. From blogs to SEO, his web presence speaks for itself. Take advantage of his expertise. Visit BeTheDream.com and click on Web Wizardry. Hire him while you can.
Yes, hire him while you can. And welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys with Ron, Ray, and Zen. And we were talking about relationship management and what that means today in the banking industry, and how does that come about, and how does the relationship management find that critical stability?
Mm-hmm. When you look at, relationship building, if you don't have a structured approach through, the many different processes of that, it can fall apart very easily. So at BBVA, we have, I called it the RDP, the Relationship Development Plan. We look at every customer within the commercial bank for the large part on an annual basis and try to understand their needs, what's important to them, and how do we expose them, as I mentioned before, with relationship building to the senior management within the bank. And at the end of that development plan, it actually has an execution document of what we're going to do over the next 12 months. And that's the important piece because it holds the bankers accountable.
Does this include a regular contact, face-to-face, phone calls?
That's correct. It has contact ratios in it, in person, over the phone. It also has events that we're going to invite them to, within the community or within the bank.
So basically, you've got a CRM that pops up who you're going to call today and what you're going to do.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not part of the relationship development plan. That's the overall sales
Well, that's
model,
how it's managed.
but kind of the same thing.
Internally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and we also monitor and manage, and lead in a contact ratio basis. And what I mean by that is every customer should be contacted, a certain amount of times on an annual basis and a quarterly basis to make sure that they are receiving the service they are looking for.
Yeah, on the sales side, we call those touches.
Touches. There you go. Same thing.
That's right. When you put together these plans, you find that there are certain common elements that your clients are looking for?
There's no fondling, Ray.
Yeah, no. Poor Ray.
Well,
it's just touches.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah. Different definition there.
Right.
When you look at, what the customer is looking for, every customer is unique. And you'd be amazed at how many customers do not want to hear from their bankers. And it just shocks me every day. I'm old school, raised in the community where.
That's why the digital transactions.
But you'll find folks that have been in business for 20 years that as long as they're receiving what they're looking for out of a financial institution are not looking to form a relationship.
Well,
and so it's not just the young. It's the middle-aged and the older as well.
Well, let me put this in a reverse.
Yeah.
Because when I do these groups, one of the questions comes up when somebody has problems.
Mm-hmm.
And they always seem to shy away from notifying the bank. And the comment we say is you better be open because you have to create the trust as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you encourage people when they have problems that they should be open and counsel with you?
We do.
And how do you handle that?
Well, lending is a trust industry, if you think about it, right? Before you had the structured modern day.
Pun intended.
Yeah, lending was done on a handshake. It was done on how many people in the community know this individual as we lend to them.
But that's because you're counting their fingers.
Yeah, exactly. So now today you roll forward, and how do you keep that same business model? I mean, and so It's always based around trust. Communication is the main key. If you communicate with your banker on a regular basis, no problem can't be overcome. I can tell you this, in my business career, if we have to exit a relationship for some reason, I find them their next banker. And they always come back. And I'm known for that in the Phoenix metro area. Don't leave anybody on a street corner. Take care of your customer. Even if you can't bank them today, you can help them tomorrow, and they always come back.
No, that's very interesting because I had one member in Chicago. The bank wanted them to move their loan, and the bank didn't help them find anybody at all.
Did not help them?
Did not help them.
Yeah, that's a shame.
What happened was the bank had to continue working with them because they didn't want to liquidate them because it would have been a big loss.
Yep.
But they paid a lot of money for workout people to help them.
Well, and it's not always a bad situation. There's industries that, banks do or do not lend into. And banks change their appetite too, like any company does or any industry. So when you look at a bank may, and I'm just going to grab an industry. You mentioned earlier contractors. A bank may be very good at lending into the contracting industry, but all of a sudden in their back room they may run into difficulty, so they decide to thin that portfolio, so they can't help all those customers anymore. You need to transition them in a business manner, a professional manner.
Okay. That's
great answers. Thank you. Now, you've also do a lot of things, community development, you do events, the services, you provide educational opportunities and things like that. What are some of the things that you're doing in the community now?
What is really important to us right now is the customer focus. And if you look at Compass Bank prior to the merger, Compass Bank was the best kept secret, as I called it. And ever since we merged with BBVA, we have more of a family-based environment, more of a community-based approach. So we do a lot of, teachings, learnings. As I mentioned before, off air, we had the Beehive event last year. And what the Beehive event was, down at the library designed, specifically for small businesses. We went through credit reporting. We had, this year an expert from Experian come in out of Texas and counsel folks and coach folks and teach folks on how the Fair Isaac works and what's important and what do you see in a business report. That's
Is there an unfair Isaac?
There's an unfair Isaac. I've seen a few. The other side of it, when you look, at the business community while always following that consulting approach, is anything you do in the community. Like we have a week of service. Okay, we all go out as a bank during October roughly, and we hold certain functions, attend certain functions, but we have a community side of volunteering.
You time it with Oktoberfest. Huh?
Oktoberfest, yes, there you go. But the community side is not just about the small business; it's about the people within the community. And so, I'll give you an example. We went to Macon Elementary. That is a stressed area financially. And so we offered quite a few items to Macon Elementary. We brought in the WNBA, who we are, a proud sponsor of with the NBA, the national sponsor, and go into those areas and not only help financially, just help them overall, and those communities are stressed in many different ways.
Well, just the fact that you show up, not only are you there business-wise, but you're there as a person.
That's right.
And you can't help but, especially when you've got these folks that are needing various kinds of help.
That's correct. And we have a very large, we did in the past, I'm very proud of this point of the bank, we have a very large CRA approach, which is the Community Reinvestment Act, and that is doing loans in the communities that you serve that are financially stressed. Are you creating jobs? Are you doing those types of things? And the bank has a very structured approach at this point that I'm very proud of.
Now, does the bank create goals as to how many jobs that's from CRA that you want to create or that you want to help that community?
No, the federal guidelines have guidelines set for banks for different types of loan criteria. They have them qualify as CRA. So the federal guidelines try to drive the banking industry to do the right thing at all times. Our bank just goes over and above on what we're trying to do for the communities.
That must be the Texas approach, bigger and better.
There you go.
Bigger, better. The Spanish approach, too.
Yes. But the Spanish approach is mañana.
This is true.
And it was in Hawaii as well.
Oh, it was in Hawaii, too. Right. Mañana? How do you say mañana in Hawaiian?
Tomorrow.
Oh, God. Okay. I shouldn't have asked that question here. Shame on me.
You asked. You got it. Very simple. So I was surprised. It's Banco Bilbao, Vizcaya, Argentaria.
That's correct. Well done.
Wow, good.
Well done.
Moms be proud. So back again, the expansion of that philosophy into Compass, the coagulation of those two philosophies now provide a much better community-oriented, service-related.
Correct. And when you think of that, where you're going with that topic, it starts with the team members.
Right.
And so the bank really takes care of their team members well. And what I mean by that is thinking of the family-based approach. And then that resonates with your customers. They feel that. They see that. And I think they appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you being here with us tonight, Ron. And thank you for all the information. We hope that's made a difference in our listeners. It has for us, I'm sure. We've had a great time with you, Ray.
We learned a lot. Even though I had a lot of experience in banking, I learned a lot.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
And I did too. Thanks so much. And thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys.